Hi, Misha here, and last time we talked about the PT-76, PT-76B, the amphibious light tank. And I said in that video the next one would be on something based on the same chassis. So today, let's talk about the MTL series. And it is a series. There have been over 80 variants with over 12,000 built since the late 60s, and they're still in very much service today, with about 3,300 in Russian military inventory, Army, and Marines. And this is one of the variants we'll get into. I am not going to even try to cover them all because there are just too many, but we can talk about it. As usual, these models are Eagle Moss in the USA and Fabry in Russia. They're die cast. Simple, but still kind of neat. On to the spinny thingy. MT, and this is an MTLB, or at least an MTLBU, or MTLBM, stands for Multi-Purpose Towing Vehicle Light Armored. And this started off, they needed a replacement for the previous towing vehicle that, well, towed artillery and other things on the battlefield, the ATP. And in the 60s, they went to work using the PT-76 chassis, the amphibious tank. It's kind of the basis, and well, it was the basis, but starting there, because they wanted something that could also be amphibious. This was not to be a frontline infantry fighting vehicle. They had the BMP and the BMD for that and others. This was a towing vehicle, and it was introduced beginning in 1968, at least the first versions, and was soon put into Soviet service and produced at the Kharkov tractor factory. And it would spawn a whole family. The initial version was about 12 tons and about 6.5 meters long. Later versions like the MTLBU and MTLBM were a little longer, about 7 to 7.5 meters, and a little bit heavier, 13 to 14 tons. Now, there was the version MTL, which was not armored. This was more of a utility vehicle. In fact, a lot of these were used by the Arctic. A lot of them were used by science and survey teams. It was a general purpose vehicle. And it was built to be cheap and easy to produce, and also cheap and easy to maintain. In fact, the engine, a diesel engine, was derived from an engine for a commercial truck. Like I said, the chassis is from the PT-76. And it was aquatic. On a road, it could get up to about 60, a little over 60 kilometers, so nearly 40 miles per hour. Off-road, about 30 miles per hour. And over the water, 3.5 miles per hour, so 5-6 kilometers. Unlike the PT-76 that had jets, this just used its tracks to move. It had a crew of 2 in the front, and we had a driver, and then we had a commander who also could double as a spotter or gunner. Behind them we had the engine, and in the back we had a crew compartment. Now, this ended up being used as an APC, carrying anywhere from 8 to 11 troopers in the back. It's actually quite large. But initially, it was given a crew compartment in the back for the crew of the artillery piece that it was towing. But of course, this would just grow to be a compartment. In fact, the seats could easily be removed, and it could carry about 2,000 kilograms in cargo back there. And since it was a towing vehicle, it could tow up to 6,500 kilograms. Now, the MTLB, the armored version, only had about 3 to 10 millimeters of armor, and at its very thickest, about 14 millimeters, so either right under or right over half an inch. This was only designed to protect against .30 caliber rounds, fragments, that kind of thing, but not direct hits or large caliber machine gun 50 cal rounds. Understandable. In the initial armament was a simple 7.62 PK MT machine gun, and originally it was mounted in a small manually operated turret in the front. But with the MTLBU version, later upgraded to the MTLBM, an option for a larger turret in the back, oftentimes taken from the BTR-80, was introduced. Here it is here on this model. So they kind of filled in the front turret area and introduced this in the back. If you didn't need a turret back here, you just had a plug. And several kind of modular options could be supported, including one with a 12.7mm machine gun, one with a 14.5, and a coaxially mounted 7.62 machine gun. That's again from the BTR-80. That's kind of a popular configuration. And beginning with later versions, the turret containing the 30mm autocannon could even be used. And for a secondary weapon, it could even have an automatic grenade launching system. So there were options. Again, it was a modular, very flexible design, but not very glorious. I mean, this is, again, it would end up being used as an APC, but never a fighting vehicle. It was never meant to take infantry directly onto the battlefield and support them. It did have firing slits, firing ports in the back, just in case you had two facing rearward and then one on each side. But that was just kind of a just-in-case thing. It was also nuclear and biologically protected and BC protected, and it did even offer some rudimentary night vision and spotting devices for the small crew of 2 men. But designed as a towing vehicle, ended up being used for other purposes. Sometimes as a command post, sometimes for research, sometimes as an ambulance, frankly, transported wounded. It was also frequently used to transport supplies and cargo. Again, over 2 tons inside, or it could tow quite a bit more than that on a trailer. Production would continue. Like I said, they built several. These are licensed, produced in Poland and Bulgaria. And they saw combat. They were used in Afghanistan. They were used by the Iraqis in the Gulf War. They were used by Russia in the Chechen Wars. They've been used in Syria. And yes, they've been used in Ukraine. Secondary support vehicle. Not glorious, but very vital, very necessary to an army. That's why they're being updated to this day. Newer versions with updated guns and protection have been introduced for the Army as well as the Marines. And not just in Russia, but elsewhere too. Some of these are actually still in use in Finland, and for a time they were used by Sweden, who purchased them secondhand, although those have been retired. It's a neat gun. It's a neat armored vehicle. Again, so many variants made, so you can check those out if interested. The model is typical. At this point, you know it. We do have a rotating turret. This whole top part is metal. Turret's plastic. And we do have rubber tracks. Now, it always likes to get caught. It's kind of neat. Don't know. But the resemblance to the PT here, you can definitely see it. They're roughly the same size and have the same mobility and what have you. Yeah. So I thought it was worth talking about. Let me know what you think. Again, not doing the glorious jobs, but very, very important jobs. From bringing food and ammunition to the front lines, to taking injured people away from the front lines or doing scientific research in the Arctic or Siberia. And they're pretty versatile in climates too. They've operated in the Middle East, Far East, and throughout Europe. Well, I appreciate you tuning in. As always, if you could, please do like, share, and subscribe. This is Misha. Catch you very soon. Next time.